So in this chapter, we're gonna talk about rough plumbing. Now, this isn't the van we've been building in, but rough plumbing is very similar to rough wiring. One thing about rough plumbing is do not make any connections inside your wall that you can't access later. If something accidentally freezes or you get a leak, you don't want to have to take apart all your walls to get to a specific point. So we use steel braided cable. It is freeze-proof, but your metal fittings are not. So just because you use freeze-proof things doesn't mean do not winterize your van. In this chapter, we're gonna show you how to properly clamp all this stuff, what to use to make your water systems, what to watch out for. I think water systems are one of those things people think of and they go, oh, that's easy, it's just piping. A bunch of leaking water will destroy cabinetry, it will get underneath your floors, it will cause a lot of damage. So I do think there is a little art to constructing your water system. One of the things to keep in mind is how can you drain it and how quickly can you drain it. So if it's a huge, terrible task, maybe give it some thought. But don't underestimate how important it is to get a nice water system installed in your van. We attach to our pump. We have a shutoff right here, and then we run it through our wall, up, and then we go up and over right here. And we use those Christmas tree zip ties that we showed in the past, and we snap those guys all the way in, run it all the way down right here, and then here it comes out on this side, and then we'll run it to our sink. A lot of people ask us why we put our water lines in our ceiling. It just keeps everything clean. We don't have to go underneath the van. We keep it a little bit further away from the ceiling to avoid freezing. I've never had anyone's water lines freeze in the past. So if you're worried about it freezing, it's never been an issue for us. But we do put a little bit of insulation over that hose. The nice thing about that as well is if when you're draining everything out to winterize it, you have gravity that's assisting the getting rid of all the water within your lines. It is really, really nice to be able to get the water lines out of the way from down here. You don't have to pass anything through your bed. So if you have a removable bed, water lines just aren't an issue. So it's very, very simple, and it typically is only one line. But if you are going to be doing shower and sink, and you're running it up and over, use at least 3/8, maybe even 1/2 inch, but that's gonna be more than enough flow for you. So the time in which you do rough plumbing is the time where you're doing your rough wiring. So this is gonna be before installation. So you're basically gonna cut all the holes, your fans, your ACs, your windows, your flares, all this stuff. You're gonna want to do that stuff and then you're gonna rough wire. So you're just giving yourself enough room to kind of play with and to move things around. You're not constricted by a bunch of insulation, and then once that stuff is up, then you're gonna insulate. So do it alongside rough wiring. In the van build that we're showing you guys how to build a van off of, we don't have the rough plumbing because what we have is called a 5 and 5 water system. There's 2 5-gallon jugs that sit underneath your sink, and that's your fresh water and your gray water tank. It's just a really, really simple, easy way to build a water system, and we will go through that in detail further on down this build. But if you want something a little bit more robust, like we have in our rack and roll van right here, I'm gonna walk you through how to get a 20-gallon water system inside your van, just something that's gonna get you a little bit further down the road, something that you don't need to fill up water so often in, and the pros and cons of a 5 and 5 compared to a 20 or 30-gallon system. What we talk to people a lot about is how much water they're actually gonna be using and how much water do they need. I feel like a 20-gallon water system is like a great middle of the road. It's gonna be a pretty small amount if you're planning on showering. Our next level up is a 30-gallon tank. And then Agile makes a really cool water tank that you actually put in your spare tire cage, and that is a 30-gallon tank as well. Those are really, really nice options. Keeping a hose on you so you can fill up wherever is a great thing as well. If you don't mind hunting for water, a 20-gallon system does really, really well. Naturally, a 30 gallon will get you a little bit further. But if you have a shower built into your van, I think at least 30 gallons is probably gonna be comfortable. And then you can carry extra jerry cans with you. But if you don't have a shower and you just have a sink, maybe an external shower, a 20-gallon tank is perfect. It works really, really well. And if you're not super wasteful with it, it does last a few days. In the van that we're building for Crux Academy, we will be using a 5-in-5 system. And the reasoning behind that is it's just a very simple, easy to use system. With it being a rental and for a show van, a lot of people using it. We like to get the higher end stuff such as this, and then our less complex builds such as the Bivy in there as well. What's nice about a 5-in-5 system is you don't need to carry a hose. You can go take your freshwater tank into, say, a Walmart or a grocery store, and you can fill up your water there for a couple bucks, and it's purified water. It's just a much easier system to maintain. This, of course, costs more. It's a little bit more complex, but it requires less filling. You have 4 times the capacity, but it really is, what you're looking to have. This is just gonna have a sink in it, so we don't need anything too crazy. We're gonna have an external shower and a sink on this one, and the gentleman just wanted a little bit more water to haul around. Whichever way you go, just think, if you don't have a shower and you're just planning on washing dishes or washing your hands, you don't need anything too crazy. I would still pick this system just for the fact that the longevity is there. You can go on a long trip, you can be off grid for a week and still have water when you get back into town. We're gonna show you what to use so that way your water doesn't taste like a garden hose, because I don't know about you, that grosses me out. Make sure you're using lead-free systems, and make sure wherever you're finding water, it's not, iffy stuff, so that way you fill this tank up and you can drink out of it. So for freshwater tanks, like I say, we go through RB Components to get a lot of our stuff. Their freshwater tank goes over the wheel well, and it's compact. That's what I really, really like about this tank, and it's not crazy expensive. We've never had a problem with any of these things. They definitely do the job. But they also make a gray water tank that mounts on the driver's side underneath the van. So if you use a 20-gallon water tank and have a 20-gallon gray water tank, as one is empty, one is full, and you can go drain it wherever you need to drain it, and that is nice. You can use a smaller gray water tank, like a 5-gallon gray water tank. You just have to keep an eye on it, because you will overflow that tank before running out of water, and no one wants a bunch of gray water inside their van. The nice thing about that gray water system, though, is you don't need to punch any holes through your van. Just put it underneath your sink and, open the door, give it a shake. When it's full, dump it out. Do whatever you need to do. So that's definitely a cheaper system as well. And then, again, BPA-free plastic tanks is kind of what you're going to want to look for. Something for potable water, unless you plan on not drinking any of the water that you're putting into your van. Good rule of thumb, don't put nasty water in your gray water tank, because once you put that in there, it can get a little bit gnarly. But they do have cleaning tablets. They do have solutions that you can put inside your gray water tanks or your freshwater tanks. And that certainly helps keep everything clean, keep algae down, this, that, or the other. The water system, it's very nice to have water in your van, but it will require a little bit of work, especially when it gets cold and it's time to drain it. So we'll discuss that as well. If you do have a big water system in your van, you're either gonna have to keep your heater running pretty much at all times, especially at night. During the day, a lot of the times the sun will heat the van up to a point where your stuff isn't gonna freeze. It's surprising how well the sun will heat a van in the middle of winter. It's definitely not something, once you start freezing some of these lines, then you're a little bit of trouble, especially if they freeze so hard that you start cracking fittings, because as soon as it thaws and your water pump is on, it's gonna get water absolutely everywhere. So again, just be conscious. Water can damage your van too. Everyone's very, very cautious with electrical stuff, but I, push people to be just as cautious with your water system, because, something cracks and your tank is full, you're gonna pump 20 to 30 gallons of water into the inside of your van, and it's a lot of water. There's several different ways that you can go about filling your water tank. You can either do gravity feed, which is super easy, but will require a tank to like pour water into your water tank, or a hose. It just dumps right in. There's no screw-in fittings. It doesn't need to be pressurized, anything like that. You can install them on the inside of your van, but I like to try and keep all that stuff on the outside, so when they do overfill, or when you are sloshing stuff around, water is spilling onto the inside of your van. We do it you have to screw a hose to the outside of the van, and everything is kept outside. So we use a small little steel braided line. It's only like 24 inches long. And then we install just a little quick fitting right here. It's made by B&B. You put your garden hose on there, and an RV hose is the way to go. If you use just a garden hose, your water's gonna taste like it came out of a garden hose. So you can get these little white hoses off of Amazon or an RV supply store. They're cheap, and they're typically white and braided, but that won't taste like plastic when you fill your tank up. But just screw this thing in, and the way we build our tanks is you just fill it until it goes out the overflow and it leaks on the ground, and then you know you're full. We have an electronic gauge that goes to our Serbo or our Color GX, so you can see how much water you have, and I'll explain that when we get back in the van. So we're gonna talk about showers a little bit. Pros and cons. Pros, it's awesome to have a shower in your van. It's nice to clean up, and it's just, I'm someone who showers daily, and I don't like feeling super, super grungy, especially after a day of climbing or mountain biking and you're just properly filthy. It's nice to just rinse off. The cons to having a shower in your van is mostly you have a shower in your van. It takes up a lot of space. There are much smarter ways to go about cleaning yourself in a van, but if you have the money, which is probably the key factoring point, having a shower in your van is not, the craziest idea. A legitimate water heater that works in your van is expensive. We use the AquaHot, and just for a point of reference, it's about $10,000 installed. The AquaHot will heat the inside of your van like a Webasto or an S-Bar will, and then it will also heat your water via the diesel, and you can have enough hot water to take a shower for your sink, but it's just a very complex and very expensive system. So keep that kind of stuff in mind if you plan on doing a shower, is you'll either need to install a Rixson or an AquaHot. You're also limited by how much water do you have in your van. If you only have 20 gallons, you're gonna be taking really, really fast showers, i.e. get wet, lather up, rinse off, you're done. And it's pretty great to be able to do that. But the footprint that the shower takes up is a pretty significant amount of space. You typically don't hold that much water, and then getting a water heater that actually works well, it is expensive. If you want to do all this stuff yourself, you will save a lot of money, but the Rixson or the AquaHot is still going to run you about $4,000 to $5,000. So keep that kind of stuff in mind if you really want to shower. There are smarter ways to go about this. Like we use a Julka hot tap, and we mount it to the rear of the door, and then we have a simple quick connect that attaches to this water system and will attach to the this water cabinet. So you just plug into this, and then you would plug your Julka hot tap right into this guy, and then it's mounted right on the door. And you screw a little propane bottle in there. Those are only a couple $100. You can use the Camp Lux as well. Those are even cheaper. And that is probably the most cost-effective and easiest way to get a shower in your van without having to spend a ton of money. Only thing is like you're gonna be showering outside. If it's wintertime, you're gonna struggle a little bit more. If you have a simple water heater, we can walk through and show you our most simple water heating solution. It is an InSinkErator instant water heater, 750 watts. It's not the most comfortable water heater, but it does produce hot water. And it's super easy to use, super easy to install, and it's not that expensive. I don't think you're gonna be able to shower with it, but it will get hot water into your sink, enough to take like sponge baths or anything like that. It just depends on, you know, how adaptable you are and what you're willing to do. So, and then the best option is finding showers. You know, RV parks, a lot of them have a communal shower. Truck stops, they'll have showers. There are also super simple solutions like an outdoor solar shower. It's just a black bag. You hang it outside your van, you go ride your bike for the day, and when you get back, the water is warm, and it has a little simple valve. You rinse yourself off. In all honesty, that is probably the best way to go about it. I live here in Colorado, and I do use my van to go snowboarding, but I use it a lot more in the summertime, where I have access to being outside to wash off. There's creeks and rivers that I'm always jumping in. So kind of put those things into the story as well. I'd hate to see people spend thousands and thousands of dollars for a shower, and a lot of people don't use it as much as you think you will, because the hunt for water can be super annoying. You're constantly looking for water because you want to take a shower. Maybe you're okay with that, but keep those kind of things in mind because they do grind on you.